electrostatic field like this. The electrostatic field is always normal to the surface of the conductor. Normal to the conductor at any surface point. Electrostatic field is always normal to the point or to the points on the surface of conductors. See, this is one point. For this point it is normal. This is one point, 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 normal. Means you can assume any n number of points on the surface of the conductor. For those points, electrostatic field is always normal. But electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of the conductor, including interior. Electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of conductor. Volume means interior and to the exterior Gaussian surface. Interior to the exterior Gaussian surface. The total is called the volume of the spherical conductor. Volume of any shaped conductor. So volume means including interior also. So electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of the conductor, including interior. These are the four rules or four postulates of electrostatics in conductors. First one, in static situation means when a static charge is placed inside the conductor, electrostatic field is always zero inside the conductor because charge always expels out. So if charge always expels out, there will be no excess charge inside the conductor. These two are dependent on each other, and the second postulate is a consequence or continuation of the first postulate. Third one, electrostatic field is always normal to the any point which lies on the surface of the conductor. We can see with the help of arrow marks in the diagram. Last one, the electrostatic potential is constant throughout the volume of the conductor, including the interior structure. Cut. Next one, electrostatic shielding. What is the meaning of electrostatic shielding? Sometimes the electrical appliance may be influenced from the outside electrostatic fields or outside electric fields. To remove this effect, electrostatic shielding concept is very much useful. So what is the meaning of shielding? A shielding is nothing but a layer or a bounded region where the effect of the outside charge is zero. It will be like this. Consider a conductor of any shape which is having cavity. That means I am assuming some cavity here. Suppose if there is no cavity, if you place a charge inside the conductor, there will be no charge. Always the charge is expels out. Expels and distributes over all the surface. Now I am removing this charge and one cavity is placed inside the this electrostatic conductors. Whenever a cavity is there, cavity means it's a scarcity, maybe a hole which is a deformed part inside the conductor. Now, one outside charge I placed, and this outside charge is influencing this conductor. I removed the charge which is actually in the interior part of the conductor, one charge which is outside I placed. And this outside charge is really disturbing or really influencing this conductor. In this case also, maybe this whole conductor can experience the force of attraction or force of repulsion or electrostatic field due to the applied charge. But the cavity, in the cavity, electric field will be 0. And surface charge distribution will be 0. And volume will be equal to V naught. V is equal to V naught, it is constant. So I am drawing some black marks to clearly identify the cavity. So like this we can assume. The portion which is coated with the black ink is okay, and I wrote some E is equal to 0, V is equal to V naught and sigma is equal to 0. This part is called cavity. Remaining is the free space inside the conductor. So what is the meaning of that? Inside the cavity, the electrostatic field is always 0 under the influence of external charge. Means if there is external charge or internal charge, in any case, the electrostatic field inside the cavity is 0. The electrostatic field inside the cavity is always 0. Always. What is the meaning of always? Maybe if you placed an internal charge or maybe if you placed an external charge. In any case, electrostatic field inside the cavity is 0. This phenomenon is called electrostatic shielding, because this is 0 means this creates a shielding to the remaining surface, and that shield really protects the from the effect of external charges. Maybe some electrical appliances are closer together, there may be a charge point of losing its electrical nature. Best example, say suppose an electrical tester. Suppose if this electrical tester is utilized as a screwdriver to remove the nuts and screws, after some usage the electrical tester is going to lose its properties. It won't sense any electric fields because of the external charge, maybe the electric field which is present in the screw really influencing the internal field of the electric tester. This is one example for the electrostatic shielding. Now we are going to discuss about dielectrics and behavior of dielectrics in electric field polarization. Dielectrics. What are these dielectrics? These dielectrics are non-conducting substances. First of all, these are non-conducting substances. Continue. First of all, dielectrics are non-conducting substances. What is the meaning of non-conducting substances, and which non-conducting substances are called as dielectrics and insulators? To conduct electricity, conducting the electricity and heat through some materials is called conduction. For conduction, free electrons are needed. These free electrons, in terms of atomic structure, we can say as valence electrons, which are in the outermost shell. Free electrons. Let me give one example. Suppose, take sodium atom. This sodium atom's atomic structure is like this. Inside, okay, proton and neutrons are present. Around the nucleus of the sodium atom, shells are arranged like this. Sodium's atomic number is 11. Sodium's atomic number is 11. What is the arrangement of these 11 electrons in the shells? K, L, M, N. Maximum is 2 in K, maximum in L is 8, maximum in M is 18, but 2 plus 8 is 10, 11 minus 10, 1. This 1 is the electron which is present in the outermost shell. 2, 8, 1. The electrostatic force on the 2 is greater, 8 less greater, but very loosely bounded 1 electron with respect to the nucleus, because this 1 electron, single electron, which is present in the last shell or outermost orbit or outermost shell. Outermost orbit or outermost shell. The electrostatic influence of the force on this single electron is very less when compared to these 2 in the first shell and 8 in the second shell. That means this 1 electron is freely available for the conduction or freely available to participate in the different reactions with the other elements. That's why this 1 electron or the single electron, which is loosely bounded with the nucleus, which is present in the outermost orbital or shell, is called free electron. These free electrons are involving to conduct the electrons, to conduct the charge and heat. That's why these electrons are called conducting electrons. But in dielectrics, there is no chance for the free electrons. In this way, it is called as non-conducting substances. To understand the dielectric behaviors of the materials, we should go towards the molecular state of the substances. These dielectrics exist in the 2 states. First one is non-polar molecules. Second one, polar molecules. We know that matter is made up of atoms. Atoms consist of many charges: positive, negative, neutral. These 3 are the major charges which is present in the atom. So positive charge carrier will be there, negative charge carrier will be there. If there is a coincidence between the 2 charge carriers of the centers of the charge, this is said to be non-polar molecules. It will be like this: positive charge, negative charge. The centers of these two charge carriers, positive, negative, coincides with each other. That molecule is called non-polar molecule. What is the meaning of non-polar molecule? It is explained clearly by like this. If the centers of the 2 opposite charge carriers, say positive and negative, coincides with each other, those molecules are called non-polar molecules. So the definition of the non-polar molecules is like this: if the centers of the opposite charges, say positive and negative, coincides with each other, then the molecule is called non-polar molecule. The arrangement of non-polar molecule is like this: non-polar molecule H, H, 1, 1. If these 2 are separated by distance, those are said to be polar molecules. In the next case, I will explain the polar molecules and the behavior of these dielectrics when it is placed in the external electric field. We are going to continue with this topic. Now, what are the examples of the non-polar molecules? It will be like this also: oxygen, carbon, again oxygen. It is a molecular structure of the CO2, carbon dioxide. So it occupies the shape like this, CO2. So this is also non-polar molecule. The net dipole momentum of the non-polar molecule is 0. Why the net dipole momentum is 0? Dipole momentum is equal to Q into 2A. Of course, charges are existed. Plus charges exist, negative charge also existed. But see the distance. These two charge carriers are the centers of these two charge carriers are coincide with each other. Means it almost forms like a concentric circle. There will be no such a gap between the two charges, two different charges, because centers are coincided with each other. That's why net dipole momentum is 0. But in case of polar molecules, the definition is different. Polar molecules, it is exactly opposite to the non-polar, and the definition also exactly opposite. In non-polar, centers are coincides. If the centers of positive and negative charge carriers or negative charges are separated by a finite distance, that molecule is called polar molecule. If the centers of positive and negative charge are separated by a finite distance, the molecule is called polar molecule. What are the examples of the polar molecule? It will be like this. Now some examples of the polar molecules and the structures of those polar molecules are like this. Examples of polar molecules. We said that polar molecules centers are separated, centers of the two charges. So HCl is one example, hydrochloric acid. How it will form? See the chlorine atom. And this is hydrogen atom. HCl, H plus Cl minus. Efficiency, deficiency. So H, a positively charged ion, positively charged molecule. Cl, a negatively charged molecule. Those two centers are separated by a distance. That's why HCl is one of the example of a polar molecule. One more example of the polar molecule is water, H2O. Two hydrogen molecules bonded with single oxygen molecule. It will be like this. One oxygen, one hydrogen, another hydrogen, or the same diagram we can write like this also. One oxygen, one hydrogen, another hydrogen. These two hydrogen centers are separated, and these two hydrogen centers are separated with respect to the center of oxygen molecules also. In H2O, H is plus, O is minus. So negatively charged oxygen molecule and positively charged two hydrogen molecules are separated by a finite distance. That's why this is also called polar molecules. Next we are going to discuss about the behavior of polar molecules and non-polar molecules in external electric field. Now we are going to observe the behavior of non-polar molecules whenever it is placed in the electric field. If the electric field is absent, means dielectrics are present, non-polar molecules are present, net dipole momentum is 0 and there is no external field, what will be the position of the charges? It will be like this. Whenever the field is 0, behavior of non-polar molecules. If electric field is 0, what is the situation? Charges are coincide. The centers of the charges are coincides. In case of the absence of the electric field. Now an electric field is applied to the dielectrics, means maybe these dielectric materials are placed in the external electric field. And what is the behavior? Whenever these non-polar molecules in the absence of electric field, this is the situation. Positive charge center of the negative charge coincides with each other. Whenever it is placed in the electric field, the behavior changes because the momentum or the shifting of the electric field due to the positive charge is in the direction of the applied electric field, but the centers of the negative charge shifts in the opposite direction of the electric field. I am repeating again, the centers of the positive charge carriers shifts towards the electric field, the centers of the negative charge carriers shifts away from the electric field. This is the first point we should observe in the non-polar molecules when it is placed in the electric field. I am writing U is not equal to 0. First property, the center of positive charges shifts towards the applied field. Second, the centers or the center of negative charge or charges shifts away from the applied field. Any charge carrier which is moving away from the applied field, it creates an induced field. We know that. So here initially the charge carriers are the two charges are almost like a concentrated one common point. Whenever the field is generated, positive charge carriers are moving to one particular distance, negative charge carriers are moving to one particular distance. It creates an electric field of two opposite signs. The electric field which is arised due to the negative charges which are moving away creates induced field, and this is the operated field. The total electric field is equal to EO plus EI. It creates an induced dipole momentum. In this case, an induced dipole moment created. This dipole moment is directly proportional to the direction of applied electric field. Direction of applied electric field, I am drawing the arrow mark. So this phenomenon, the shifting of the charges under the presence of the electric field, is called polarization. So a sample diagram is like this. Thus the centers are separated, centers of the charges are separated. So the dipole moment is directly proportional to the direction of the electric field. Now we are going to discuss about the behavior of the polar molecules or the dielectrics which contains the polar molecules in the absence of the field, in the presence of the field. It will be like this. Whenever in the absence of the field, the only difference between the nonpolar and polar molecules, in nonpolar molecules, in the absence of the field means when E is equal to 0, there is no dipole moment. Whenever it is placed in the electric field, their alignment takes place for the different charges, dipole moment exists in the opposite directions. Still, in polar molecules, before the applied field or in the absence of the field also, dipole moment exists. What is the reason? Thermal agitation. The molecules in the polar molecules are the dielectrics which are made up of the polar molecules, which contains the polar molecules. They are already aligned because of the thermal agitation. Means they have some thermal energy. Because of the thermal energy, they used to excite, are randomly oriented in the fields. Randomly oriented means electric field applies, very next of the field applying, this random variation will turns to the perfect alignment. So what is the random variation? It will be like this in case of E is equal to 0. Yeah, this is the random variation of the polar molecules in the absence of electric field. I am writing E is equal to 0. Whenever the field is applied, E is not equal to 0, means field applied. In the application of the field, after the application of the field, these all polar molecules are aligned to be oriented in the same direction, means they are oriented to the alignment of the direction of field, like this. All polar molecules are aligned in the same direction due to the applied field. That's why here the dipole momentum is random, means it is very difficult to calculate. Here the dipole momentum is calculated. All the charges are aligned in the same direction. That's why dipole momentum is additive. But in case of non-polar molecules, dipole momentum is not additive because the charges are separated after the application of the field. So this is the behavior of polar molecules. In this case, after the applying field, we can say that polar molecules are, in this case, we can say polar molecules are under the influence of dipole moment in the presence of electric field. So here also we can say dipole moment is directly proportional to applied electric field. Whatever it may be, separation of the charges or alignment of the charges in case of non-polar or polar under the application of external field is called polarization. This polarization is the actual behavior of the dielectrics. So the behavior of dielectrics in the presence and in the absence of electric field is like this. Now we are going to discuss about the applications of this phenomena in case of capacitors. Now we are going to discuss about the behavior of dielectrics in electric fields. Behavior of dielectrics in electric field. EF means electric field. Now, what is the behavior of dielectrics? Initially, we discussed that dielectrics are of two types. First one is polar molecules. Second one is non-polar molecules. If a dipole which is made up of polar molecules, how it will behave in electric field, we are going to discuss about that. So, see the polar molecules behavior. What is the meaning of polar molecules? The centers are separated. At the same time, the molecules in the absence of electric field, they will rotate randomly like this. Random behavior means there is no particular alignment with the field. There will be no alignment. That's why we can say it as E is equal to 0 for polar. E is equal to 0 means there is no electric field was applied on polar molecules. So these are the random oriented. See the direction. It is direction like this. And this is directing like this. And this is directed like this. Means there is no regular particular alignment to the field. So this motion is called random motion. What is the meaning of random motion? There is no particular direction for the molecules, but whenever this type of polar molecules are placed in electric field, after placing in electric field, they all align towards the common direction of the electric field. Means all the molecules, whatever may be the charge. So we can write E is not equal to 0. Not equal to 0 means some field is applied. Now, this is the initial case when field is equal to 0, randomly oriented. In this case, net dipole momentum is 0. Is 0. Because the charges are rotating themselves in a random orientation. That's why there is no possibility to create the dipole momentum within themselves. Whenever field is applied, they all align in a particular direction. This alignment causes to the produce dipole moment. And charge carriers are separated. Negatives are shifted to one end. Positives will shift it to the another end. This separation of charges are also takes place. This phenomenon is called polarization. So what is polarization? On the application of external electric field on polar molecules or non-polar molecules. But here we are observing the polar molecules. On the application of electric field on the polar molecules, see, it will create a dipole moment, or we can say a net dipole moment which is in a positive magnitude, and the charges will separate to the either ends of the conducting medium or either ends to the substance. This phenomenon is called polarization. Now we will see how the polarization takes place in non-polar molecules. In polar molecules, this is the case, how it will behave in the non-polar molecules. Now we are going to discuss about the polarization process in non-polar molecules. How the non-polar molecules structure like this. Like this. The centers of the two charge carriers will coincide So here it is E is equal to 0. And we can write one more set also, no problem, if you have the space. In non-polar molecules, the centers of the positive charge and negative charge coincides with each other. So, in the field, if the field is 0, this is the coincidence. It is very difficult to displace the centers of two charge carriers. Whenever the field is sufficient to displace the centers of the two charge carriers, the diagram will be look like. Yeah. What we can say here, positive and negative are coincides with each other. Whenever the field is applied, the negative charges are displacing from the bonding. Like this, the charge carriers are separated. Whenever these charge carriers are united like this is called as electron cloud. Electron cloud. Now, in the field, in the external field, this cloud is experiencing a force which is in opposite direction. Like that, the negative charge carriers and positive charge carriers are separated like this. Then a dipole momentum will be created and all the negative charges will go to the one side of the substance, all positive charges will go to the another side of the substance. So this phenomenon is called polarization. Symbol is P. It has a direction, so negatives will come one side, positives will go another side. So this is electron cloud and it is separating like this under the application of electric field. This polarization process is very, very important in dielectrics. You can see the same case in capacitance also. Next, we are going to discuss about the capacitor or capacitors. What is the meaning of capacitors? There are many shapes of the capacitors, but what is the general structure of the capacitor? See, two metallic conductors. Of any shape or size, separated by a finite distance through an insulating medium. This construction is called capacitor. I am repeating again, two metallic conductors of any shape and size separated by a distance through an insulating medium. This construction is called capacitor. What is the purpose of this device? This device stores the electric energy, means an electrical device which can store the electrical energy is called capacitor. So it has a phenomenon called capacitance, and how the capacitance depends with respect to the applied potential. We are going to discuss about that. What is the definition of capacitance? The amount of charge required to rise the potential by 1 volt or 1 unit is called capacitance. The amount of charge required to rise the potential by 1 unit. What is the unit potential? Nothing but 1 volt or 1 volt is called capacitance. C is the symbol. So what is the capacitance? There is a need of some charge. A capacitor construction will be like this. There is a need of some charge, some amount of charge which is required to rise its potential, means the capacitor's potential, by 1 volt, nothing but 1 unit. This is called the capacitance of the capacitor. So what is the equation part of this capacitance? What is its units and dimensions? Next we are going to discuss. As the definition said, charge required to rise the potential by 1 volt. So the amount of charge we are giving is directly proportional to the rise in potential. That's why charge is directly proportional to V. The symbol of charge is Q. Therefore, Q is proportional to V. I am removing this proportionality constant. Q is equal to CV. If the charge is in a total magnitude, we can write capital Q is equal to CV. This C is called capacity or capacitance. From this expression, we can say C is equal to Q by V. What is the unit of capacitance or SI unit of capacitance? Capacity in SI system. See, C is equal to Q is the charge, SI unit of charge is Coulomb. SI unit of potential difference is volt. 1 Coulomb by 1 volt is equal to 1 farad. So, SI unit of capacity or capacitance is called farad. The symbol is F. 1 farad is defined as 1 coulomb of charge is passing through 1 volt of potential difference, then the capacity of the conductor is 1 farad. If 1 coulomb of charge passing through a unit potential difference, then the capacity of charge is called 1 farad. This farad had ranges: microfarad 10 power minus 6 F, picofarad 10 power minus 12 F, like that. Next concept is dimensions of capacity. Dimensions of capacity. How to write the dimensional formula of a physical quantity? First, write the general formula. C is equal to Q by V. We can write Q is equal to IT by V is equal to W by Q. This Q will go up. Therefore, IT Q by W is equal to C. What is I? Current. T, time. Q, charge. Work, joules. So, what is the dimensional formula of the capacitor? I, A, time symbol is capital T, charge symbol, again it is IT, therefore AT by work ml square T power minus 2, A square T square by ml square T power minus 2. If you write in the perfect order, m power 1, L power minus 2, this T power minus 2 goes up, T power 4, A power 2. This is the dimensional symbol of capacitance. M power minus 1, L power minus 2, T power 4, A power 2. So, capacitance has dimensions of minus 1 in mass, minus 2 in length, plus 4 in time, and 2 in current. Cut. Capacity is a scalar quantity. Now we will see the dependence and independence of other physical quantities with respect to the capacitance. Capacity is a scalar quantity. Capacity depends upon there are some factors where the capacity depends. What are those factors? First one, capacitor has two plates. The capacity of a capacitor depends upon the total surface area of the conducting plates. That is the first property. Total surface area of conducting plates. Next, it depends upon the gap between the plates. Between the conducting plates. We will see how these are dependent in the capacitance. We will see in the expressions. Third one, it depends upon the dielectric constant of the medium. Upon dielectric constant of the medium. Last one, which is very important, presence of another medium near to the surrounding region. Presence of another medium which is nearby. These are the four things which are that depends upon the capacity. See, first one, total surface area of the conducting plates. Second one, gap between the conducting plates. How the gap is relative to the capacity of the capacitance, we will see. Next, depends upon the dielectric constant of the medium. Next, presence of the another medium which is nearby to the conductor. There are some factors which is independent of capacity also. We are going to see that. Okay. Now we are going to see the capacity independence on. Capacity independent on here also four factors where the capacity is independent. In the definition of capacitor, one term is very important. Whatever may be the shape and size of the plates, means capacitance is independent of shape of the material and quality of the nature of the material. See, first one, shape of the material. Second one, nature of the material. Here the material, what is the main material or main element in the capacitance? Conducting plates. Here also conducting plates. Next, it is independent of charge and potential. These four are the factors where the capacity is independent. The definition itself proves the first two, and these two we are going to prove in the next part. Now we will see one problem based on the capacitance of a capacitor. Cut. Now we are going to watch one problem which is based on the capacitance of a capacitor. See, the problem is written like this. A capacitor connected to a 10 volts battery. It collects a charge of 40 microcoulombs. What is the capacity of a capacitor? Yes, the solution is like this. What are the given things? Potential difference is 10 volts. How much charge it is collecting? 40 microcoulombs, means 40 into 10 to the power of minus 6 coulombs. What is the capacitance? What is the capacity of a capacitor? What is the formula of the capacitance of a capacitor or a capacity of a capacitor? C is equal to Q by V. Now substitute. Q is equal to 40 into 10 to the power of minus 6 coulombs. V is equal to 10, 4 times. So 10 volts. Coulomb by V is equal to Farad. So 4 into 10 power 6 Farad. 10 power minus 6 farad. That means 4 microfarad. This is the capacitance of a capacitor. Next concept is capacitance of a isolated sphere. Now we are going to watch the capacitance or capacity of different spheres. According to the syllabus, isolated and parallel plate capacitor with dielectric system. These three are very, very important. Next we will go to the energy concepts and Van de Graaff generator. Let me check what is the capacitance of a isolated sphere. Capacitance of an isolated sphere. Take a sphere of radius capital R. What is the potential due to this charged spherical shell? V is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q by R. This is the potential due to this charged spherical shell. What is the capacitance formula? Q by V. So I am bringing this V, which is in the LHS, to the right hand side. So Q by V, this 4 pi epsilon naught R will go to the left hand side. Therefore 4 pi epsilon naught R is equal to Q by V. This Q by V is capacitance. C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. That means capacitance of an isolated sphere is R times the 4 pi epsilon naught. What is this R? Radius. So capacitance of an isolated sphere is R times, R is nothing but radius, times the 4 pi epsilon naught. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to 9 into 10 power 9. 4 pi epsilon naught is equal to 1 by 9 into 10 to the power of 9. This is the capacitance of an isolated sphere. Next we are going to discuss about the capacitance or capacity of a parallel plate capacitor in the presence of dielectric medium, in the absence of dielectric medium. Now we are going to see the capacity of a parallel plate capacitor. Capacity or capacitance of parallel plate capacitor. See the heading, it is a parallel plate capacitor. We didn't mention any medium. That means air is acting as a medium in between the plates. The next case is a dielectric medium is placed between the plates. Let me check what is the capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor when air is as a medium. So these are the plates. These are the parallel plates. Whenever it is connected, these two plates are connected to the external charges. Yes, due to the polarization, opposite charges will be developed on the plates. Now, field lines always travels from positive to negative. That means some flux is exchanging from positive charge plate to the negative charge plate of a capacitor. Outer region, there is no field is existed. No field is existed in the outer region. So, E outer is 0. But E inner, what is the surface charge density? Sigma by 2 epsilon naught, because capacitance is depends upon the total surface area of the conducting plate which is placed in the conductor. Therefore, E inner is equal to sigma by 2 epsilon naught minus sigma by 2 epsilon naught. This is due to the positive charge, this is due to the negative charge. The total is sigma by epsilon naught. Why we applied this sigma by 2 epsilon naught? These two plates occupy some area. Capacitance depends upon the total surface area of the conducting plates. So, which creates the surface charge density because the charges are distributed over the surface of the plates. So, E is equal to, or E inner is equal to, means sigma by epsilon naught. What is E? Electric field strength or electric field intensity in the inner region of the capacitor when air is acting as a medium. But we know that sigma is equal to Q by A. Charge per unit area is sigma. So I am substituting sigma is equal to Q by A. Therefore, E is equal to Q by epsilon naught A. But what is potential? Capacitance is directly proportional to the potential, right? So therefore, potential V is equal to, we can write ED, E dot D. Therefore, V is equal to E, from equation 1, E is equal to Q by epsilon naught A. Into D. What is capacitance? Q by V. Again, I am bringing this V to the left hand side, right hand side, and this will go to the right hand side. Therefore, Q by V, okay, is equal to this D by epsilon naught A, go to the left hand side and it will become epsilon naught A by D. Q by V is nothing but the capacitance. This is the expression of a parallel plate capacitor with respect to the capacitance when air is acting as a medium between the plates. Capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor is equal to epsilon naught A by D. See, go back to the dependence and independence of the capacitor. Capacitance is dependence upon the area of the conductor, gap between the plates, and epsilon naught. There is no charge or no potential here. That's why we proved that depends and independence of the capacitance. Now we will see one problem based on the C is equal to epsilon naught A by D formula. Calculate the area of the plates needed to have 1 farad of capacitance for a separation of 1 centimeter. See, the solution of the problem is like this. We should find the area between the plates of a capacitor. But what is the condition? Capacitance is 1 farad and separation is 1 centimeter, nothing but 10 power minus 2 meters. We are converting into SI system. Now we are finding the A value. What is the rule? C is equal to epsilon naught A by D. Therefore, A is equal to CD by epsilon naught. A is equal to CD by epsilon naught. Now I am substituting the values. C is 1 farad. So A is equal to CD by epsilon naught, C is equal to 1 farad, D is equal to 10 power minus 2 meters, epsilon naught is equal to 8.85 into 10 to the power of minus 12. Therefore, this minus 12 goes up 10 power 10, 10 power 10 into 1, 10 power 10 by 8.85. This 8.85 we can take it as approximately 9. So 10 power 10 by 9, it is approximately equal to approximately equal to 10 power 9 meter square and more than 10 power 9 meter square. That means this should be the area between the plates of the capacitor to produce this much of capacitance when the separation is 1 centimeter. These are the area of the plates of the capacitor, 10 power 9 meter square. Now we are going to see the effect of dielectric on capacitance. Effect of dielectric on capacitance. This means whenever a dielectric medium is placed between the plates of the capacitor, how its capacitance is going to change. This is the thing we are going to discuss here. Whenever a dielectric is placed, the surface charge density will be equal to the original charge density minus polarized charge density, because due to the presence of the dielectric, polarization takes place. We know that. So therefore, E is equal to sigma by epsilon naught in the inner region, as we already know. Whenever a dielectric medium is placed, the polarization takes place. Because of the dielectric medium, E will become sigma minus sigma p by epsilon naught. Polarization is always opposite to the applied field. That's why it will be deducted. And we are writing sigma minus sigma p as sigma by k. Therefore, E is equal to sigma by k epsilon naught. E is equal to, what is sigma? Q by A. Therefore, Q by AK epsilon naught. V is equal to ED. Therefore, V is equal to Q by AK epsilon naught into D. Q by V is equal to capacitance, and this whole thing will go to the thing. That means AK epsilon naught by D is equal to Q by V. Q by V is nothing but the capacitance. Therefore, capacitance is equal to K into A epsilon naught by D. See, we can see some differences in the expressions in the presence of dielectric, in the absence of dielectric. In the presence of dielectric, the capacitance will become K into A epsilon naught by D. What is this K? Dielectric constant. So, we can write capacitance or capacity of a capacitor with dielectric medium is equal to the K times the capacitance of capacitor without dielectric. If you see the definition, it is like the capacity of a capacitor with the dielectric medium is equal to the K times the capacity of capacitor without dielectric. See, C is equal to K into A epsilon naught by D. We can write it separately in a bracket. What is this A epsilon naught by D? Capacitance of a capacitor, of a parallel plate capacitor without dielectric medium. So now we are going to discuss about this K. What is this K? What are the definitions? Now, what is this K? This K is called dielectric constant. How to define the K? What is the expression of C? K into epsilon naught A by D. What is this K epsilon naught? Permittivity of medium. of medium. But what is the original symbol of the permittivity of the medium? Epsilon. So therefore we can equate epsilon is equal to k epsilon naught. Therefore epsilon by epsilon naught is equal to k. From this expression we can define the dielectric constant. Dielectric constant is defined as, what is epsilon, sir? Permittivity of a medium. What is epsilon naught? Permittivity of a vacuum. So ratio between the permittivity of medium to permittivity of vacuum is called dielectric constant. Ratio of permittivity of medium to permittivity of vacuum is called dielectric constant. K is equal to epsilon by epsilon naught. See, permittivity by permittivity, units and dimensions also going to change and going to cancel out. That's why dielectric constant is a unitless or dimensionless physical quantity, because this is one of the constant value where it has the unitless and dimensionless. So K is unitless or dimensionless. What is the one more definition of this dielectric constant? We can write K is equal to C by C naught. What is C? Here epsilon is permittivity of the medium, epsilon naught is permittivity of the vacuum. C is what and C naught is what? Cut, sir. So what is C? Capacitance with dielectric. What is C naught? Capacitance without dielectric. Capacitance with dielectric, K A epsilon naught by D. Capacitance without dielectric, A epsilon naught by D. And this A epsilon naught by D and A epsilon naught by D will cancel out, and the answer will get K. So K is defined as the ratio of permittivity to the medium by vacuum, and K is also defined as the capacitance of the substance with the dielectric by without dielectric. The problem is like this. A parallel plate air capacitor means initially it has air as a medium between the plates of a capacitor, has the capacitance 18 microfarad. If the distance between the plates is tripled and dielectric medium is introduced, in this case the capacitance becomes 72 microfarad. Calculate the dielectric constant of the medium. See the cases, capacitance as when the air is a medium is 18 microfarad. We can write Ca. Capacitance as a dielectric as a medium 72 microfarad. But see, this 18 microfarad expression is epsilon naught A by D. Whenever a capacitance plates are in between the plates of the capacitor, a dielectric is substituted, and one more condition, distance between the plates is tripled. That means K epsilon naught A by 3D. You got the point. Epsilon naught A by D is equal to 18 microfarad, and the plates are increased. Okay, the size, the gap between the plates is increased to 3 times of the original. In that gap, a dielectric medium is placed. Then its capacitance is 72 microfarad. Then what is K? See, right. Capacitance whenever a dielectric is K epsilon naught A by 3D is equal to 72 microfarad. But we can write epsilon naught A by D is equal to 18. So therefore, K into, what is epsilon naught A by D? 18 microfarad by 3 is equal to 72. K by 3 is equal to 72 microfarad by 18 microfarad 4. Therefore, K is equal to 3 into 4, that is equal to 12. Therefore, the dielectric constant is 12 for the case gap between the plates is 3 pulled and a dielectric medium is introduced, then its capacitance become 72 microfarad. Corresponding K value is 12. As we mentioned, K is a unitless dimensional quantity. Next, grouping of capacitors or combinations of capacitors. Capacitors can be grouped as two types: series combination and parallel combination. Series combination second one, parallel combination. Whenever two or more capacitors are connected in series, what will be the effective capacitance? Whenever two or more capacitors are connected in parallel, what will be the effective capacitance? These two things we are going to discuss now. First case, series combination. What is the meaning of series combination? Like a row, next, next, next. The second terminal of the first one connected to the first end of the second one. The second of the second one is connected to the first of the third, and it will be grouped like a row, like this. C1, C2, C3. This is series combination. One end will be connected to the positive terminal, last end will be connected to the negative terminal, and there will be a potential difference between the plates, and the total potential drop is equal to the sum of the potential drops at the junction. V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. So like this. Potential difference occurs between the ends. So therefore, here it is V1, V2 continuously. Total potential in series combination. V is equal to V1 plus V2 plus V3. Here we are connected 3, so no problem. Connected to the terminals of the battery. But we know that V is equal to Q by C. In series combination, charge is uniform throughout the combination. Only capacitor V will be changes. Therefore, Q by C is equal to Q by C1 plus Q by C2 plus Q by C3. And we can write Q by C is equal to, when you take common Q, 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. Q get cancelled. 1 by CS I am writing. What is CS? Capacitance in series combination is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. That means the conclusion is, what is the effective capacitance when two or more capacitors are connected in series? The reciprocal of the effective capacitance is equal to the sum of the reciprocals of individual capacitances. So the reciprocal of effective capacitance in series combination is equal to the sum of reciprocals of individual capacitances. Sum of reciprocals of individual capacitance. One by CS is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. Sum of individual capacitances resistance is equal to 1 by CS. Now we will see the combination of capacitors in parallel. What is the parallel combination? Yes. See, all the first ends are connected to the positive terminal and all the second ends of the capacitor is connected to the negative terminal. That means on these first plates which are connected to the positive terminal in common, positive potential will be placed. Second plates, negative potential. There will be no potential difference between the ends because all one sides are connected to the same potential, but there is a difference between the charges between the two plates. Therefore, here V is same, Q is different. In the previous case, Q is same and V is different. So, listen. Therefore, we can write Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2 plus Q3 and so on. If there are three capacitors, we can write Q3. So, what is the charge here? Plus Q1 here, let us say minus Q1. What is this charge here? Plus Q2, this is minus Q2. There is a difference between the charges of the plates. Therefore, what is Q? CV. What is Q1? C1V. What is Q2? C2V. What is Q3? C3V and so on. Therefore, CV is equal to, we take V as common, C1 plus C2 plus C3 and so on. V and V get cancelled. C is equal to C1 plus C2 plus C3 plus so on up to Cn. So it is a parallel combination, that's why I am writing CP. Means effective capacitance in parallel combination is equal to the sum of individual capacitances. Effective capacitance in parallel combination is equal to the sum of individual capacitances. C is equal to, Cp is equal to C1 plus C2 plus C3. When there are n capacitors are connected like this, we can write up to Cn. Now we will see one problem which is based on the series combination as well as parallel combination. The problem is like this. Three capacitors of capacitances 4 microfarad, 6 microfarad and 12 microfarad are connected first in series and then in parallel. What is the ratio of equivalent capacitance in the two cases? First, they are connected in series. What is the effective capacitance in series combination? 1 by Cs is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3. There are only 3 capacitors. That's why 1 by Cs is equal to 1 by, what is C1? 4 plus, what is 1 by C2? 1 by 6 plus, what is 1 by C3? 1 by 12. Where 12 is the LCM, 3 plus 2 plus 1, 6 by 12 is equal to 1 by Cs. Therefore, Cs is equal to 12 by 6, 2 microfarad. This is the effective capacitance in series combination. What is the effective capacitance in parallel combination? C1 plus C2 plus C3. 4 plus 6 plus 12 common of microfarad. 10 plus 12, 22 microfarad. Now he is asking what is the ratio of equivalent capacitance in the two cases. Therefore, Cs by Cp. Cs is 2 microfarad. Cp is 22 microfarad. Units get cancelled. 1 by 11. Cs by Cp is equal to 1 by 11. Therefore, Cs is to Cp is equal to 1:11. This is the ratio of the capacitances in the two cases. Now we will see energy of a charged capacitor or energy stored in a capacitor. We know that the dimensions of energy and work will be same. So first we will find out the work done, then it will be converted to the energy. What is the work done? This is the capacitor plates. We are applying the charge like this. These are the capacitor plates which are connected to the battery terminals like that. It is positively charged and negatively charged. The charge what we are applying is really increasing the potential of the capacitors. Means it is doing some work to increase its potential. For a single charged particle, it is dW. What is dW? V dq. Because we know that V is equal to W by Q. This Q is a charge. So, what is for the single one? dW by dq. We know that dW is equal to, what is V? Q by C into dq. The amount of work done in moving a charge from one plate of the capacitor to the another plate of the capacitor through a given potential difference is equal to dW is equal to Q by C into dq. Work done. What about the total process? We should integrate. Therefore, we can write total work done in moving the all charges from one plate to another plate is equal to integral dW is equal to integral Q by C into dq. Whenever the initial stage there is no charge, after charging, charge turns to capital Q. Integral dW is nothing but W. Integral Q dq, nothing but the integral x dx is equal to x square by 2. Like that, Q dq is equal to Q square by 2. To see what are the limits? 0 to capital Q. Therefore, work done is equal to Q square by 2C minus 0 by applying the upper limit minus lower limit. We know that Q is equal to CV. Therefore, Q square is equal to C square V square by 2C, nothing but half CV square. C. The work done in moving the charged particles from one plate of the capacitor to the another plate of the capacitor is stored in a form of potential energy. The work done in moving the charges is stored in a form of potential energy. In mechanics, potential energy symbol is PE, but in electrostatics and capacitance, potential energy symbol is U. Therefore, W is equal to U is equal to half CV square. This is the expression for the work done or energy stored in the capacitor. Now we will see one problem with respect to the energy stored in capacitor or energy changes. See the problem. A variable capacitor means a capacitor's capacitance is changing. So its variable capacitor is permanently connected to a 100 volts battery. Voltage is not changing. If capacity is changed from 2 microfarad to 10 microfarad, then calculate the energy change. What is the energy stored in the first capacitor? Means we can write half C1 V1 square. Listen, C1 is 2 microfarad, but V1 is equal to V2 is equal to 100 volts. Only capacitance is variable, not the voltage. So therefore, U1 is equal to half. What is C1? 2 microfarad. V1 square is 100 square. Half into 2 into 10 power minus 6 farad into 10 square whole square 10 power 4. 2 to get cancelled. 10 power 4 into 10 power minus 6, 10 power minus 2 joules. This is the energy when a 2 microfarad capacitor is connected to a 100 volts battery. What is the energy? U2. Capacitance is changed to 10 microfarad. Half C2 V2 square. Therefore, C2 is equal to 10 microfarad. We can write 10 power minus 5 farad because 10 into 10 power minus 6, 10 power minus 5. V2 is equal to, we know already it is 100 volts. Therefore, U2 is equal to half 10 power minus 5 into 100 whole square. So, 10 power 4 into 10 power minus 5 by 2, 10 power minus 1 by 2. What is 10 power minus 1? 1 by 20. Change in energy. Is equal to du is equal to u2 minus u1. u2 is equal to 1 by 20 joules. u2 is equal to 1 by 20 joules. u1 is equal to 10 to the power of minus 2 joules. It is nothing but 1 by 100 joules. Now we are going to find the difference u2 minus u1. Therefore, du is equal to u2 minus u1, 1 by 20 minus 1 by 100. 100 is the LCM. 5 minus 1 joules. 4 by 100 joules. That is nothing but 1 by 25 joules. 1 by 25, if you calculate it to the decimal points, the answer will be like this. 1 by 25 joules is equal to 0.04 joules. So this is the energy difference when a capacitance is changed from 2 microfarad to 10 microfarad when it is connected to a 100 volts battery, 0.04 joules, or we can write in a form of standard notation 4 into 10 to the power of minus 2 joules. Now we are going to discuss about Van de Graaff generator. This was discovered and monitored by Van de Graaff, one of the great scientists, and this Van de Graaff generator is useful to accelerate the highly charged particles from one potential range to the another potential range, mean by low potential range to the high potential range. Let me see the construction of the Van de Graaff generator, and after that the functioning of the generator. The construction of the Van de Graaff generator is like this. There are two pulleys, let us say pulley 1, pulley 2. These two pulleys are mounted on one insulating belt. This is the insulating belt, yes. Yeah, these are the two pulleys which are mounted with, means these two pulleys are connected with one insulating column. That means there is a thread like which is made up of an insulating material, and this insulating material is used to rotate these two pulleys like this. See the direction, upward, downward, means the pulley will be moving like this. See here, this pulley actually should be operated with some voltage. As we said, Van de Graaff generator is useful to accelerate the charged particles from low potential range to high potential range. Listen carefully, means up to 5 into 10 to the power of 6 volts range we can produce with the help of this Van de Graaff generator. Because of this high voltage efficiency and the ability to produce the high voltages and high potentials, this Van de Graaff generator is useful in nuclear reactions. These two pulleys are mounted on an insulating belt. This belt is to rotate like this. This pulley 1 actually it will connected with one EHT source which is near of 10 to the power of 4 volts, which is connected with an EHT source. 10 to the power of 4 volts. EHT 4 volts. This EHT source is connected to a comb. That comb is called spray comb, let us say C1, and one comb will be placed near to the pulley 2. Here also one comb will be there. Whenever this much of voltage like 10 to the power of 4 voltage potential is supplied with the help of a spray comb to the pulley 1, this insulating belt is spreading like this. Due to the force of repulsion, the charge will spread over the insulating belt. When it is spreaded, it is continuously supplied to the pulley 2. But above the pulley 2, one spherical hollow sphere is connected. Whenever a charge is transferring from one point to another point via through a media called air or any other medium, there is a possibility for the spreading of the charges over a surface. We have seen this example in electrostatics, surface charge density. Such like that, 10 to the power of 4 volts of potential is supplied to the pulley 1. This insulating pulley mounted which is connected to the P2. Because of this insulation pulley, yes, here one receiver comb will be there, that is C2. It receives. Because of the force of repulsion, the charge will spread like this. This process will be continued, it will not be stopped for one time, it will be continued. And this whole pulley is connected to an electric motor, like this it is operated. Whenever the charge which is supplied here, this much amount, received by the P2 via C2, then this charge is spread over the surface of the hollow sphere. Whenever this process is continued and continued and continued, these charged particles are accelerated with high velocity under the high potential, then the charge over the sphere or over the hollow sphere will be more. Like that, the potential will be produced up to this much range. Here we can see the phenomenon of ionization, force of repulsion. With respect to that, the charge will be spread over this hollow metallic sphere. Let us say the sphere S. So from lower potential to higher potential, the charges are transferred and this much of voltage we can produce. This functioning is useful in accelerating the charged particles like deuterons, electrons, comma protons, etc. Inside the sphere, charge will be different, potential is different. On the surface of the sphere, potential is different. How the potential is different inside and outside, we will see in some part of the calculation. Now we will see the potential difference with respect to the inner surface and outer surface. See, one inside of the sphere, we have taken one charge of potential range small q. Whenever a charge is placed, this charge expels the charge always outside. That's why around this charge we can assume a charged surface area. Let us take the charged surface area which is similar to the Gaussian surface. Because of the charge placed, yes, the charged surface area is enclosed like this. What is the radius? Capital R. With respect to the charge capital Q, the radius is capital R. With respect to the small q, the radius is small r. Now, what is the potential with respect to the r? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q by r plus q by r. What is the potential with respect to the small r? Nothing but the radius of the small charged surface. 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into q by r plus small q by r. This is on the surface, this point, on the surface. This is in the surface or inside the surface. Now we are finding the potential difference due to the inside and outside ranges. So, V of r minus V of capital R is equal to. If we do the subtraction between these two equations, where we can get a 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught is common, q by r minus q by capital R. There we can take q by 4 pi epsilon naught as common. We can write 1 by r minus 1 by r, where r is the radius of the smallest sphere inside, where capital R is the radius of the sphere which is enclosed with respect to the charge.